Good morning. How are you guys? Welcome back to another Chit Chat Friday. Okay, so I haven't done one of these in like 2 weeks, and we all know it's because moving was upon. We have now been in our house for exactly a week, and as you can see, new space. Right now, I'm sitting on our personal little patio that's off our master bedroom. Oh, fancy. So so I'm sitting on our patio, like second story deck right now. It's a covered patio. It's really cute. There's nothing in it right now besides like my one table and chair. So it's like just a little area. I haven't set her up completely. This goes into our master bedroom, and then below is the yard, and there's the deck below this. So let me get you set back up. But if I start like glistening, it's like 90 degrees and 100% humidity right now at 10 in the morning. So I didn't actually, like, I put mascara and I did my eyebrows, but I didn't put any other makeup on because I was like, I'm gonna sweat it right back off. I'm gonna sweat it right back off. So let's get caught up in like what happened over the last 2 weeks. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, I went up and picked up my husband, and we drove back down to Maryland, where my family is and my husband's stationed, going to be stationed. And we went up, picked up the boat, which, y'all, that was a fiasco in ourselves. Thank God we have like good fellow corpsman friends that loved us so much. There was like a big shit show with, that's all I can say. Sorry if my cussing offends you. It was a big crap show for picking up the boat. Like, there was an issue with the tires. We were gonna like set the boat up on the trailer the night before. We were due to drive back down, and like we had to get a tire issue fixed, and then the places were shut down because it was later at night, so we had to go first thing the following morning. Then we had like an electrical issue with the tail lights, and then like we lost a bolt, and we had to go to the store a couple times. It was a hot mess, and I felt so bad. It was our friend Megan's birthday. Megan, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry we ruined your birthday. We didn't wind up getting out of there. It took about 3 hours to get this completely set up, thankfully, with their help. And we got on the road around noon. Because we like left later in the morning, we definitely hit traffic, so we didn't wind up getting there till like 7:30 at night. And that's what's stopping and having to get like more diesel for my husband because he was pulling the trailer and his truck was loaded down really hard, so he was going through a lot of diesel, and there was a lot of stop and go coming through New York. Traffic is back to flowing in New York. It's almost like COVID. Could you ease up on the traffic again? Thank you. But we're here, and then so we got here the first Friday 2 Fridays ago. No, 3 Fridays ago. So not today with my Chit Chat Friday episodes coming on, but 2 Fridays ago. Then we drove back down, and then we had a nice weekend with the kids. And then the following week, last week, is when we started. We had to come. We had to sign the lease. So even though my husband is stationed in Maryland, he's right on the Maryland-Virginia line, and Walter Reed Hospital, he will be stationed there for military housing. We're right over the Virginia line in Fairfax County, and y'all, we are so happy with the housing here. Like, so happy with the house we chose, because in Fort Belvoir, there's quite a few neighborhoods you can pick from. There's a lot of neighborhoods you can pick from. So I'm really happy that we went with the one that we went with. This is the only off-post military housing, if that makes sense. So it's military housing, but this one is not actually on base. It's a lot like in Connecticut, where Connecticut has housing, but it's all off-base because the base is too small to put housing on base. So this is the only village that is off-base, and we chose this village because my husband, since he's not working on Fort Belvoir, he's like, we didn't really want to have him deal with, the gate guards and traffic coming off and onto that base, and going to Bethesda, having to deal with the gate guards going on and off of that base. So we chose this one, and this one also had the biggest floor plan for the 5-bedroom houses that they offer for a family of our size. And we are just so happy, you guys. Like, I can just tell like the weight is off my shoulders. I've been a lot more relaxed in situations that normally I would not be relaxed in. I'd be like freaking out about, but I've kind of just started taking like one step at a time, and just really, like, if you've watched my previous Chit Chat Fridays, I was having some blood pressure issues, and I'm having to just like take a step back and be like, you know what, there's some things that aren't worth freaking out over and getting myself worked up over. So I'm woosahing, and I'm not doing that anymore. And it's funny because now, like, watching my husband, it's like we've almost done like a 360. Like, he's the one that's starting to freak out over certain stuff, and I'm like, it's fine, don't worry. So that's funny. But then when we finally got our household goods delivered, so I want to start out with this like little tidbit when I talk about it, because I don't want to freak people out. I know a lot, this is PCS season with the COVID stuff. There's so many people that are behind with transferring, and there's so much going on right now. I do want to say what I'm going to say, like, take it with a grain of salt. It might not happen to you. Your PCS might be better. So the people that did our move, our packing, they were phenomenal people. I will say that. They had really great attitudes. We laughed, we joked, we talked. But we did have a lot of stuff that got damaged. And it's funny because even looking at now and looking back and knowing that there was me and another friend that were walking around the house, like, there was multiple packers in the house. So, like, we weren't standing on top of every single packer. So there's just some things that we found in boxes that were like, we found like a plastic like spatula spoon that was wrapped in like 10 layers of packing paper. Just silly things that you're like, why did they do that? I don't understand. But we did have a lot of damages. Right now we're looking at anywhere between $4,000 to $5,000 worth of damages. So while this has been like the biggest damages, like, and I say damages, like, we have stuff that's either we have boxes that are just straight missing right now that I'm trying to have to piece together and remember what's in those boxes, because even though the boxes are labeled, like, that's I don't remember every single thing that was in those boxes. So we do have a lot of damages. We have a pretty hefty claim. Now there's people that have like $30,000 and $40,000 claim, like they're claiming a whole house. So, I mean, we have a relatively, like, small to medium-sized claim, I would say. We have, you know, bookcases that were broken. We, unfortunately, if you were on my Instagram and Facebook, you saw that the 55-gallon fish tank that I was so worried about, they did wind up crating it. Thank you so much for the driver who did what he said he was going to do when he was bringing it down here. He took it to the warehouse and he did crate it. Unfortunately, when they were taking it off the truck, the gentleman that was wheeling it off the truck with the dolly wasn't paying attention to where the ramp was, and he walked off the side of it and dropped it off the back of the truck. And at first we didn't know what was in there because, ironically, they wound up crating all of our stuff. Now, we've had stuff put into storage before, okay? This isn't our first time dealing with storage, and normally they just put it in an area. They don't crate it, which are like these big wooden crates that they put your stuff into and they seal them up. So when they came, the day that they came to drop our stuff off, I actually thought at first it was only 2 trucks. They had 3 trucks here because they had crated all of our stuff, which I am thankful for, because it really did minimize a lot of the stuff that could have potentially been lost. Now, we did lose some stuff still, but I've had worst items being lost and having to track them down in the previous move than I did with this one. So we wound up having to open that crate because we didn't know what was in it at first. And then when we opened it, we realized, oh my God, it's the fish tank. And the fish tank was just shattered. There's nothing that you couldn't have saved that. So that was a big bummer that it got all the way here and then it fell coming off the back of the truck. So yeah, that's not fun. And then we have, like I said, we have damaged bookshelves. We just have like a lot of high value items for some reason were the ones that got destroyed. Like, my husband has a really expensive meat, like, not just a meat, it can do vegetable, it can do anything. It's a dehydrator. And that was broken. I have a running list of things like curtain rods. Now, for some reason, they took my husband's fishing poles, and the driver that dropped our stuff off, actually, he was taking photos and sending them to the management team because he was upset with what some of our stuff was coming off the truck in. They took our fishing poles and they had them in a box, but they took them out of the box and they had duct taped all of the fishing poles together, which resulted in a lot of my husband's fishing poles being broken. We had curtain rods that were done the same way. They were taken out of the long boxes for some reason and they were duct taped together. So I have missing curtain rod parts. So we had to go and buy new curtain rods. It's just a lot of things that just add up to where we are now. Now, granted, I do want to say again that the actual people themselves that were taking the stuff off, they were the most respectful, the nicest. The problem with military moves, and if you can avoid this, I would, but a lot of times you can't, because especially if you're trying to get onto base housing or you're moving last minute and you're trying to find a house, is try to do a door-to-door move. What that means is they pick your stuff up from your house and they're taking it directly to your next house. That's where you're going to have the least amount of damages. We have done a door-to-door move before, and when that happens, I have absolutely no damages. When you take stuff and you're constantly putting them in and out of storage, putting them on a truck, taking them off a truck, you know, like I said in my last video, we had to have a shuttle bus because of the way our driveway was. So they had to load it up on a truck, take it to the warehouse, take it off that truck, put it on the bigger trailer, bring it down to Virginia. They had to take it off the trailer again, put it into storage. Now they had to take it out of storage, put it onto trucks, and then bring it to our house. So that's where a lot of damages is going to incur. And even if we were moving things ourselves, that damages like that are still going to happen. Like when you're constantly taking things on and off and on and off and moving them around. So while it sucks, it could have been way worse. Things are replaceable. Again, I feel like my mind shift has kind of changed. Oh, y'all, it is real high out here. Woo, I'm already like, oh, woo. My mindset really shifted once I got out of the housing situation that we were in. I did just, I've actually been going back and forth with the property management company. They're supposed to be sending our security deposit today. They're cutting it very close to the limit that they can keep it. And we're getting our full deductible back, which is our full deposit back, which is great. But once I get that in hand, I will, like I said, in the multiple videos, we're going to go ahead and talk about my experience with that. But after just getting away from that living situation, I feel like my whole attitude has changed. Like I'm not just like constantly in like a state of uproar dealing with things. So it's been like, it's so crazy how when you can change your environment, like you can change like not only your health, but like your personality can kind of go back to what it normally was. You know, I was extremely uptight, and just uptight meaning like I was just constantly on edge with everything that was going on, and not having my husband having the ability to help me with things because of his job and being on the boat and them constantly being gone. Like it sucks when you're dealing with that by yourself. Now that I'm close to family, you know, I have that help, thankfully. You know, we could have been stationed somewhere else and I still not been able to have help. So I'm grateful for what I have right now. So going back to just like the moving stuff, if you can avoid doing the storage, I would highly suggest it, because that is where a lot of your damages come from. But just moving into the house now. So my husband, thank you God, he got leave, because trying to do this would have just, I would have been back up into that like zone that I was in. Like we were able to just get our house set up, and I want to say about a week. There's still some things that we want to do. Like I want to, you know, now that I have a patio like this, I want to get like cute little twinkle lights and hang them up and like different stuff now. Like when you have a new house that you still need to do, but we have all of our stuff at least in the house. The garage is a whole different story. That garage, because we lost, they broke and lost so many pieces of our shelving for our garage, we have to now rebuy that stuff. So a lot of stuff is sitting just like kind of all over the place in the garage because we don't have anywhere to store it. But the inside of the house is, for the most part, 100% done. I wound up putting a lot of clothes away last night. The clothes I was waiting until the very last minute. I hate doing clothes. God, it's like a never-ending thing. Clothes. But the house is now set up. If you saw my post, our homeschool room, well, I definitely have more dreams of things I want to kind of do decor-wise with it. It's completely set up. It's completely functional. We will be starting the Sea Life 6 Academy back up next week, and my kids are going to be starting their 2020-2021 school year, so yay! But yeah, like I just feel like the way our furniture fits in it, the way our stuff looks, I just feel like this is home. Like I know we're going to have to move again and it's going to suck, but for right now, like this feels like home. It doesn't feel like a new place. My kids, the first night, and this was the part that shocked me the most. So the first night that our kids, so we had about 48 hours after our stuff was delivered that we like rushed and really unpacked. We got like a furniture set up in our kids' room and all that other jazz, because we had to get our kids back from my parents, who had them basically for a month, even though I was there. And then I came up to Connecticut to do things. My parents had them for a month and they were kind of like, hey, get your kids back. So they love them, but they wanted to be grandparents and not parents. So we got everything set up, and I really thought, because the way the rooms are set up now, we have 5 bedrooms, but the 1 bedroom is downstairs on the first floor. So we're not using that room as a bedroom because it's not big enough for us to use as a master. And I was thinking about that at first. I was like, well, maybe if it's big enough, we'll have the master downstairs, even though we technically have to share the full bathroom with like anyone who wants to come visit. But the bedroom wasn't big enough to be considered a master. So we wound up keeping that as our kids' playroom, which wound up having a lot of our kids' stuff fit in there nicely, so it works out. And then we have our master up here, and then 3 other bedrooms. And then what we did is we have our youngest and oldest are now in separate rooms. And then our 2 middle children, because they are the same height, even though they're like 14 months apart, they are the exact same height. They wear the exact same size clothing, and no matter what you do, they sleep they sleep together. They have a bunk bed, and we've tried separating them in different rooms before, but they gravitate and they sleep in the same bed together. I don't know. They fight like the Dickens, like bad all day long. But then when it comes to sleeping, you can't get the 2 of them to sleep away from each other. It's crazy. So we have those 2 sharing a bedroom, and they're sharing the second largest room in the house. But the masters, this is the second largest room. That's right by our room. And then our oldest has his own room, and our youngest, and I really thought that our youngest was like going to lose it sleeping by himself, because he's never slept by himself in his own room before. He's co-slept with us until he was a year old, and then he shared a room with his older brother since then. And you guys, he fell asleep completely fine. It broke my heart. Can we just talk about that? It broke my heart. I was like, he's gonna need me. He's gonna be so sad. I'm gonna have to lay with him. He went to bed just fine. And that's when you know your baby's growing up. I was having a moment that night. My husband's like, you gotta get it together. I was like, oh. It was a moment for me. And then my oldest is so excited because we wound up getting him a bunk bed. That's a bunk bed and a futon on the bottom. And we're gonna be getting him his own TV for his room. Normally we don't have TVs in our kids' bedrooms, but we decided that we're going to allow him to have a TV in his room so he can access games. Not really for watching TV, but so he can game in his room and kind of have, he's turning 10 this year, guys. He's not a little kid anymore. I'm gonna have a moment again. He's not a little kid anymore, and he wants his own space, and he wants to do preteen. He's getting to the preteen stage, which, if you guys have any like advice for and he's already starting with the huffing. We're already starting with like the slight back talk, not disrespectful, the last word kind of thing. So a lot of just normal preteen stuff. So if you have any advice on that, like hit that up below, because yeah, Mama's trying not to lose her mind with that. And again, he's not disrespectful. It's just definitely, you can see he's coming into the teenage years, the awesome teenage years. So I was really sad when my little one, I don't even know how to describe it. I know I just said it, but it really broke my heart. Like finally getting to that point where I realized my youngest is not a baby anymore. He's only 4. I mean, he's still little. He's still my little baby. He's still my dude, but he's, I don't have like a miniature person anymore. Like I don't have a baby or like a pre-tot or a toddler really. I'm getting into like the school age. He's still considered a toddler right now, but he's getting into the school age area. That's breaking my heart, people. I can't do it. I'm trying to convince my husband to reverse his vasectomy. Oh yes, I am. So, it's not really working that well, but they're trying. But, we have already always said that we've also wanted to foster and adopt. So, even if I can't convince him to reverse it, because I want a little person of our own, even though we have our little people, we're definitely getting into the phase of life where that might be happening soon. And I'm excited about it. I know people think I'm crazy. They're like, you have 4 kids, you're always by yourself, why do you want to add more kids? Like, I don't think about it as that. Like, they drive me crazy. They drive me crazy all day long. Sometimes I want to bang my head against the wall, but I also could not do life without them. Like, I can't imagine not having any of these kids, any of them. I couldn't imagine. And people say, oh, wouldn't you like loved it to have been a girl? I couldn't imagine any of these kids being girls, because they would be, I just can't. Like, I've never looked at any of my children and gone, oh, I just wish you were a girl. Their personalities are just, they are straight boys. Hardcore boys. I wouldn't want that anyway. Like, God gave me what I needed for children, and that was all boys. I mean, even with animals, we have a boy dog, and we just got a kitten now that we have moved and we live somewhere where we're allowed to have a cat. We have a boy kitten, and it wasn't for like us like going out and searching. A local family in the neighborhood had taken in a pregnant cat, and the kittens were ready to go, and we said, you know what, why not? We are cat people. My husband is like the cat whisperer. He's like a cat ninja. It cracks me up. So we went there, and we loved the markings on one of them, and they said they weren't sure whether it's a boy or a girl because they were still little, and we're almost 100% positive it's a boy, and that's okay. Even if I fostered and I took in, you know, nothing but boys, that doesn't bother me as much. Now, granted, I would love to have a daughter. I would love to have a daughter that looks like me, acts like me, and has some of my husband in them. I think my husband would die, though. I told him, I said, if we had a daughter, would you be okay with naming her Alicia? I love my name. I love the name my parents picked out for me. It's a unique name. It's not Alicia, it's not Alicia, it's Alacia. So it's different, and not all people have it. And I'm like, he goes, I only need one of you. He's like, that's why we don't have a daughter. I can only handle one of you. And I'm like, We're gonna work on it though. Stay tuned for that endeavor. I know there's gonna be some people that are like, you're crazy, I can't believe you want to do this, but I do. I feel like it's something that my season of life that I'm having, like the Lord bring upon me, is whether or not we get a reverse vasectomy, which he is 100% doesn't want to do. I'm still working on that though. But just fostering and possibly adopting. I really feel like that's something that's in our future because it's in my heart. It's been in my heart for a long time. For those who have known me, if I could have fostered while I was in Connecticut, unfortunately our landlords did not want us fostering in the house that we were in prior for the last 2 years, I would have already been doing it. And yeah, it's crazy, it's a lot, but there's so many kids out there, you guys, that have nothing and no one, and they're in bad situations and they just need love. That's it. And that's something everybody wants. They want love. They want to feel safe. They want to feel loved. They want someone to listen to them when, you know, things are going wrong. I know most people, when they foster and adopt, they want to do younger kids, but I'm actually thinking about doing more. Possibly, we're going to talk over my husband. I'd like to have more older kids that have kind of probably been pushed around in the system and they feel like they don't have anywhere else to go. And I feel like that's my calling, is to give older kids a chance. I have friends that foster, and it's beautiful watching how they've impacted these kids' lives. You know, so many kids are just bounced around from foster home to foster home. A lot of them, even when I was doing some outreach work, they flat out say they're like, foster families that have older kids, they don't really care about them, they only have them for a paycheck. And that breaks my heart. If you're doing fostering, you shouldn't be doing it for any other reason other than wanting to help kids. That's it. Help them, either help them get back with their families or help them into becoming adults. And hearing some of the stories of what some of these kids have been through, and they're not even 18 years old, it will break your heart. It really will. So I feel like that's kind of the next step in life now that we're kind of getting down. We're getting into, like, we're under 7 years now. My husband just hit his 13-year mark in the Navy, so he has 7 years to go, and I feel like that's going to be a path upon us within the next decade, is getting our roots permanently situated in Florida, because that's where we're going to. My husband's going to retire, and then starting that part of our life and just helping as many people as we can, because I feel like that's what we're supposed to be doing in life, just be helping people. So that was my heartfelt little to you right now. How has your week been going? How's the last 2 weeks of your life been going? Drop a comment below and we'll talk about it, and I'll see you on the next Chit Chat Friday.